Okay. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to day 2 of September Wellness Week. We've got an exciting week planned. It's a little bit different than usual, as Dan talked about yesterday. Usually, we go through, the epic 5 pillars of diet, hydration, movement, stress management, and sleep. But we're switching it up a little bit this week. This month is actually National Yoga Awareness Month, so we're having a two-part 2 different days on yoga, today being one of them. We're going to talk a lot about, just chat more about like what is yoga. There's so many different types of yoga. We're going to talk a little bit more about the mental benefits, and then tomorrow Dan's going to dig more into some more different types of yoga, but also the physical side of things. So yoga's just incredible. I love yoga and I'm excited to chat about it. And yeah, there's so many different benefits, like I said, of yoga, whether that's mental or physical. And yeah, I guess before we dig into kind of the benefits of it, I want to chat a little bit about like what yoga is. And basically, if you ask like a yoga practitioner or really anyone to define yoga, they're likely all going to have kind of separate answers, which can be confusing, but it also is super cool because there's so many different facets to a yoga practice. There's so many different ways to do it. And some people do it for the physical benefit because it helps their bodies to feel good. Other people do it for more of a spiritual practice. It is very meditative and really encourages mindfulness as well, so that and also even deeper within the spiritual practice there, there's kind of a goal of like self-enlightenment, and yeah, kind of there's different like ego pieces and just a bit more kind of meta. So we won't get as much into that, but there's definitely different types of yoga practices that are more spiritual in nature. But regardless of your approach for yoga in general, it really can help to kind of reshape or unravel our habitual or unconscious patterns. Yoga, again, really a big part of yoga is mindfulness in the present moment. So a lot of times, again, in yoga, they're encouraging you to focus on how your body's feeling through movements, focusing on the breath that you're taking in and out. And there's just so much. So and also with yoga, as you practice yoga, sorry, my cat. As you practice yoga, it can help you to provide like a foundation to those healthy habits, which is interesting. It can help with self-inquiry, so learning about ourselves and our bodies, and also discipline along with that as well. And really, it in a weird way is created to empower you to be more mindful and to make more conscious choices to live a healthy and fulfilling life. And there's one word, yuj or yog, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but yuj, which yoga derives from. It refers to greater internal states such as clarity, peace, and happiness. So those are big cornerstones of yoga. And just again, aiming for that mental clarity and peace, which in turn can lead to happiness as well. And go for it, Melissa. You have a thought?
Yeah, I was just thinking, to me, the reason lately, I kind of told you before, like I was thinking about doing yoga lately, it's really been calling to me. And the top couple reasons are, and I wrote these down, were like a couple that you told me about, but like to meditate, because I've always wanted to meditate and I tried, and it hasn't really worked out. So this is it, right? You said, and then breathing. My whole issue before was inhalers, 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 and now I got my breathing back. And so it's leveling up on that. Mindfulness, I'm always working on mindfulness and being in the present moments, right? So then what I added to my list, which is so cool, is I like to call it pattern popping, like popping all these patterns. And that's one that I didn't
pattern popping.
yeah,
I
I didn't
like
even
pimple
think.
popper. Melissa the pattern popper. I love it.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, and that's exactly, I didn't know. I mean, if you think about being, in the present moment and that meditative mindfulness state, of course you're gonna think about your thoughts going into those clouds, right, floating by, and you're going to think, does that serve me, like we talked about before? Is that something I want to keep? And so of course it's going to be that pattern popping, and then the discipline. And then my favorite that you said was the foundation, because I feel like Epic was my like rebirth of foundation. Like I know how to eat and heal myself that way, but meditation, yoga just incorporates all those. So I just wanted to say, like, to me, it feels like it's a buffet, and I like how I didn't know about half of those, but I did know that I wanted half of those that you talked about, innately. And so I think one cool thing about yoga, I just want to add is, what are you looking for to, like, kind of work on in your life? Is it breathing? Because, you used to have asthma, and, is it breathing, or is it mindfulness? What is it? And then, it sounds like yoga. I'm giving it a go. I'm going to start right away, but, I want to try it. But what is it about yoga now that we know that entices you, or, because there's so many different things, and I just appreciate you sharing that. It's so cool.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, like you said, I think that's also what, why a lot of people can hesitate to get into it, because like you said, there's so much a part of it, but also it's so like there's so many different kinds, so it can be kind of broad in like the benefits, but at the same time, if like with certain types of practices, which we'll talk about in a little bit too, it's incredible that of course some of the benefits overlap, but yeah, there's the mind body connection that happens with yoga is what initially enticed me to kind of look into it. And I've always been fascinated with, the connection between the mind and the body. And we talk a lot about how our bodies and our gut and the health of certain parts of our body can affect our brain, but the health of our brain can also affect different parts of our body. And it's just all so interconnected. And again, that's why I love yoga so much, because it doesn't have to be this super intense, like crazy workout, but even just starting with some different like yogic stretches, or even just the breathing. There's even within yoga, there's so many different types of breathing. I remember during some of the harder workouts, there was, our instructor would always direct us to breathe a certain way. So like if we were doing more of like cardio, just kind of more intense, we would do, they were called, I don't remember the specific type of breathing, but it's basically just in through your nose and out through your nose, which is interesting. But it creates a sort of heat in the body. And I should have done a little more research on that part too. But I just remember, in college, I took multiple yoga classes. One of them was Hatha yoga, which is Hatha, which is my personal favorite, but that's just the one I have most experience with too. But again, there was that kind of breathing, but also as we were going through movements. So like a lot of people are familiar with cat cow, that movement. So you're on all fours and then you arch your back and then you do the opposite. With that one, for example, when you arch your back out on cat, right? Yeah. On cat, you exhale, and then on cow, as you go this way, you inhale. And really you're just working with your body and your body's movement. So you can feel it. Like if I were to switch the breaths to be opposite of what I just explained, it feels awkward, because when you're stretching out this way, again, you're exhaling, and your lungs are actually again, your lungs will move, like, my words are twisting up right now. But again, as your body moves, you breathe in a certain way. And it, again, also helps out with the movements, and the movement helps out with the breathing too, which is super fun. But cool. Again, I think, again, one of my favorite parts is that, exactly like you mentioned. So at the beginning of my sessions, I remember my instructor would always say, let go of anything that's not serving you right now. And right now in this moment. So she would say, we've got 45 minutes or so for this practice, and you're practicing just for this 45 minutes to be as present in this moment as possible. So it's totally normal for your mind to wander. And they also say this a lot in meditation as well. So again, there's a lot of overlap, but they note, if your mind starts to wander, it's completely normal, but just, you can kind of take note of whatever that thought is. Maybe you can dig back into it later, but instead, when you do catch yourself, return back into focusing on your breathing, or focusing on how your body feels in whatever position or pose that you're in. And yeah, it's just worked in like any single yoga video or, movement exercise that you watch or go through. They always are going to remind you to breathe, and especially too in more like static movements, like when you think about planks, um especially with some of those static movements. I know for myself personally, when I get into a plank, I tend to hold my breath. And
Yeah.
so like as we were in that pose, again, many times she's like, don't forget to breathe, don't forget to breathe. And it's just a good reminder. And I found too, actually, now that I'm reflecting a bit, I like, even just I had two 45-minute classes in a week. And during that time, I definitely, outside of that class too, it helped me to be more mindful of like my posture throughout the day, but also how am I breathing throughout the day, because I tend to go to a more shallow breath. And so with the help of yoga and increasing that mindfulness in that environment, it helped me outside of that too, to just remind myself more often, like, all right, a full deep breath. And the cool thing with that too is, certain types of deep breathing can stimulate the relaxation response. And so like a lot of those breathing, along with some of the more relaxing type of yoga, again, there is more intense kind of more of a workout. But yeah, there's certain types of yoga that could be great before sleep, again, also for the movements, but also for the intentional breathing that you're doing during that time, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, what do you think, Melissa? I know that, yeah, like you said earlier, you are excited to get into yoga. You have a lot
Yeah.
of practice with, mindfulness outside of, yoga as well. Yeah, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I just really like how, it makes sense with the different practices that you're talking about. The mindfulness part of it is really kind of the foundation, right? And
Yeah.
so, just been thinking about mindfulness in general, like eating mindfully lately. I've been thinking about that, and then I feel like mindfulness is kind of like in the core practices of yoga when it comes to like epic and my diet. It's water, right? Like I feel like yoga and water are kind of the same. Like yoga could really, like from yoga you could really expound on like so many different levels: the mindfulness, the breathing, the regulating your body. And that's another thing that you talked about. And it's that for me, another reason I want to do it is because the mind body soul, like mind body spirit connection. And that is so just so neat that you can breathe into it, and then throughout the day, you said like it reminds you to breathe throughout the day. I just really like that, because any kind of reminder to breathe, just like with the Gulps app that we use for water.
Yeah.
I mean, breath is like we need breath like we need water. It's so important, to our body. And so, yeah, I just think yoga is so awesome.
Right?
It's so it pillars off into so many things that we need. Just like water is the foundation of like just diet of humans. And so kind of pillaring off of that, it's like vegetables, fruits, this and that. But with yoga, it's like breathing, all these different things. And so it's to me, it's just really interesting learning how it really is kind of like a core practice where, I guess not really all the things, but like Tung Sudo and karate and all the different ones, it's a practice at the core base of it, and water is a practice. And I just think it really flows good with this lifestyle change that we're, implementing here. The more mindful we are, the more we can create our life. And I just think it's super cool on so many different levels. So yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I do think it's super cool because, like I said, we're talking a lot about like the mental benefits, but also like tapping in or not too deep, because Dan's going to go a little deeper in it tomorrow. But like, so much of yoga too is, working on balance and mobility and strengthening. Like it's actually strengthening and stretching. And I think that's why I was so drawn to yoga, because it felt like the best bang for my buck, because I am not the biggest fan of like running or super intense workouts, but I loved that like it especially a 45-minute, yoga flow. It like there are certain poses that it gets kind of hard when you're, going into that flow for the third or fourth time. And, but it's really rewarding. And I actually talked to my mom about this yesterday. Yoga is really rewarding because I feel like it is really easy to notice your improvement. For example, for myself, like being able to hold certain balance poses longer, but also having a specific like safe environment to practice like mindfulness. And I think honestly, I think that was probably the first time in my adult life that I made a conscious effort to be in the present moment for that 45 minutes. I'm not worrying about the homework I have to do later. I'm not worrying about how much sleep I didn't get last night. I am fully invested and fully in on this 45 minutes. And yeah, yeah, actually it's interesting. Like I said, I think that again was the first time in my adult life that again I made a conscious effort to completely be mindful. And I know that I had been mindful in other situations, but yeah, I don't think I had to that extent until I yeah was led in that way, which I think is interesting. So
That is cool.
I'm
And I
thankful that
gotta
I
say,
did.
just to say, like, it was this year for me. I know there's moments, obviously, when I was having babies and stuff that I was
Right.
present, right? But this year, until like through my trauma work and really getting good on like my health, it was like, oh yeah, that's kind of the same for me. The present moment, it's happening more and more every day too, and it's that
Right.
mindfulness that leads to the present moment.
Mhm.
But yeah, that I didn't have it till this year either. So it's
Yeah.
so cool. Like, that's the cool thing about like Epic and just this healing journey is that we're all going to experience it, right? And we've all experienced it before. Like you and I both said, we've had moments like that. But this was the for real, where we just said,
Right.
today we are in this class or in this moment, and we're going to be in it, and nothing is going to
Right.
distract us. And we made that conscious effort, and it's so cool, because
It
I
is
love that, and
cool.
I think everybody should experience it, can experience it, and it sounds like yoga is a cool like way to
Yeah.
go get it.
I
Yeah.
agree. And I think, yeah, with that, you don't or you can't do better until you know better, or once you know better, you can do
Yep.
better. And that's kind of
Mhm.
where I was at is again, like I'm sure I had moments of mindfulness and presence in that moment and, prior to that. But the difference was now I do it with intention. Like I make a conscious effort to be mindful instead of it just like happening whenever, willy nilly. But yeah, which is really powerful. And I'm curious for you as you yeah, increased your level of mindfulness throughout the day, like what difference has that made for
Oh my
you?
God, it has made a world of a difference, because recently I was like, you know what? I'm giving myself this time where I'm really being present with myself, and like the food choices I make, and the water consumption. That's, oh, we got to be present for that.
Yeah.
I'm like, what would it be like if I spilled that out intentionally to my family? And it's so cool, because we're a blended family, and so all 6 kids are here at times, and sometimes 3, sometimes 2. And so, but what I decided is the time that the kids aren't here, I'm going to with Troy and myself and my oldest daughter, she's here. We're gonna focus. I'm gonna just like focus that time mostly on me and then them. And then when the kids come back, when I'm around them for just a couple hours we are a night, I'm fully present
Yeah.
with them. And I found like less TV time, because we're conversating and we're doing art, and we got a lot of
Yeah.
paint stuff and all this stuff. And and the more you let the kids talk, they just want to
Mhm.
talk, and it's
Yeah.
fun, like
It is so
jumping into
fun.
their world at night instead of jumping into the TV world. And that
Right.
was fun. Did it for
Mhm.
40 years. But it's just a new way of like, the mindfulness, and just how much like they enrich my life, things that
Right.
they say, and gosh, they're like little
Mm.
mini humans in school going through all
Right.
these things,
They're
that we go
learning
through
so
as adults.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one aspect, but just mindfully like eating and being aware of my body, like the other day eating food that didn't sit with me. It's like, okay, I learn lessons, and the more mindful I am, I learn the lessons in the present moment, and I kind of like have a beginning and an end and then a lesson, and then I move on, instead of like, oh, those 40 years of lessons, let's go back and
Mhm.
go through them. It's kind of like just living in the moment. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So
It is
yeah, I'm,
super
I'm
cool.
excited to do yoga, because I didn't really realize how
Yeah.
far I've come until just now. So thanks for the
Right.
question.
Oh, and good work out of you. And yeah, it's pretty incredible. And I think, yeah, mindfulness, whether that's through, with meditation or elsewhere, like it really, yeah, again, I think it
Empowering.
helps to, yeah, it's empowering. It helps to give you mental clarity. It helps you to learn more about yourself and your body. And, you again, I think there's so much power in listening to your body and paying attention to how you're feeling and what's going through your brain, but also, the power of being grateful for that present moment. I think that's a very powerful thing. And again, like with yoga, one of the benefits that come with that is, again, we talked about like clarity and peace and happiness. And, the more that we can learn and connect with ourselves and our body and our mind, I feel like, yeah, happiness is likely to follow. And yeah, anyways, I feel like I didn't, I was going somewhere else with that, but
I
yeah,
like
I
it.
think that's a good way. And I think the cool thing too, like I mentioned with, the breathing that, or kind of before getting into the breathing, actually, I had mentioned too that, again, practicing yoga, the practice of yoga, it requires you to shift into that kind of relaxed state, which again can increase focus. It can decrease stress, which I think is a huge part of it too. But also, kind of like I mentioned, it promotes a stronger connection with yourself. And I feel like that's one of the most powerful pieces of it, because it is so empowering. And yeah, I don't, anyways, I love yoga. Yoga's so cool. And I want to chat too about like the breathing exercises. I had mentioned that, again, like stress is a very normal thing, and the accumulation of stress can cause our nervous system to be constantly in overdrive, which can make it difficult to unwind or focus and sleep. And the breathing exercises that you practice with yoga, again, can help lower your heart rate. It can shift your nervous system into a more relaxed state, and again, increase focus and promote better sleep. So like, there's so many things that yoga can do. And again, it's meditative, which they're, yeah, I've in the words, there are just so many overlapping benefits. And yeah, it really doesn't even matter which type of yoga you're doing. Even if you're just doing breathing parts of yoga, like there's still benefit from it. And I actually found this document that I wanted to share with you guys. And
I want to say one quick thing while you're doing that.
do it. Yes.
One cool thing that I'm just thinking right now is, if I try yoga now, and now after this, this call that we're doing, we know like what all there is to be, gained by yoga, even if it's just breathing and
Right.
being more mindful. And if we don't decide to do it, we're still right here, right? But then if we're still here, it kind of, we have access to both. And so for me, it's like so many cool things. I think, I kind of wish I would have tried it sooner, but like it's super cool. So I think just, giving it a go, and and then I don't know, you're probably going to offer some like cool like ways to get started. I don't know if we can do that at the end, because I want to know, obviously there's different places for everybody, but like what's one like intro that you've liked or something maybe we could try. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, remind me if I don't get into like specific examples or kind of where to look or where to kind of start, or maybe even like key terms as you're doing your own search. Remind me at the end if I don't quite get to that. But I think this next document is going to help, because again, it lays out a few, and there's more types of yoga than this, but this document is just helpful. And again, it talks about the types of yoga, but also what to expect, who it's kind of for, or like the benefits that you might see too. So I think this will help you decide some different ones to kind of look into. And so without further ado, let's get into it. And I'm not, I'm gonna try, oh gosh. Oh, okay, you can see me. The video went away for a second. I couldn't see you. And so I panicked. I thought for whatever reason, my computer ended it. But again, I would love to be able to pronounce all of these, but I feel like that's an unrealistic goal. So I will just talk a little bit more about what to expect there. And yeah, again, kind of who it's for, benefits. So with these first two types, again, the words are hard, but what to expect for this kind. And kind of along with that too, if this sounds like, if you would like to focus on alignment and posture, yeah, just kind of search beginner Iyengar yoga, and that can be an awesome place to start. Kind of scrolling down here again, I'm just going to kind of go through these for you guys. So Ashtanga, It's for those who are prone to sedentariness, which that is I, whoops, and looking for a fast-paced and physically challenging class. So I just like how specific these descriptors are, because again, yeah, you can really decide like, I would like something that is for my sedentariness, but not as sure about the physically challenging part. So we can keep scrolling, see what else we got. Vini yoga, focused on breathing and meditation, have limited movement and want to work outside or want to work from the inside out. Definitely read that wrong. Benefits, relaxation, body awareness, and better posture. So this one sounds super fun to me. I like that it's a bit slower. It's really focused into the breathing and meditation side of things. And yeah, just there to promote relaxation. And this one likely would be a good one before bed again. Yeah, for that relaxation piece there. We've got this guy, which I think this is super fun. Set sequence that incorporates meditation, compassion, chanting, and deep listening. So this one has a bit more of those spiritual elements into it and talks more about kind of the ancient teachings of yoga, which, yeah, can give you some better body awareness and, like I said, relationship improvement there. This is my personal favorite. This is Hatha Yoga. So it's generally a slower paced class with potentially physically demanding poses, which I can attest to that. There were some that were more difficult, but the cool thing with yoga too is they always have modifications. So they have like yoga blocks that you can get to make certain movements or poses easier for you. They also have different bands that you can use. I would definitely take advantage of those type of tools, but also you can kind of make your own at home. So like I don't have like a specific band that I use, so I'll just roll up like a towel and use that maybe to stretch certain parts. Or if I don't personally have a yoga block, I need to invest. They're not that pricey, but instead I will use like a thick textbook or something like that. Again, usually it's used to kind of get your butt off the ground sometimes, but also if you're doing poses where you're bending over, and let's say you're doing you're standing up straight and you're trying to touch your toes. If you're unable to touch your toes, you can use the block, and it's usually a rectangular shape, so you can use it, the shorter version, or you can turn it up to kind of have the taller one as well. Some people just use one. You can also have two if you want to. Yeah, totally up to you. But with Hatha, it's for those who want a grounded style of yoga that focuses on standing poses and developing awareness. Benefits calm the body, mind, and spirit in preparation for meditation. I think this is just great. I love it. It was a little bit of a workout. So again, there's some more physically demanding poses. So you're holding certain poses for longer. You're doing certain flows. Maybe you're doing them more often, you're going through it a couple more times. But I found that with Hatha yoga, it was just really rewarding. Like some of the balancing poses that we did, it was just really exciting, like week to week, or even within the same week, like being able to, hold a pose longer, or being able to keep my focus longer within the session. It's just, yeah, super cool. So Hatha is awesome, would highly recommend. Vinyasa is also something that we did a lot in that class as well. So it's more free form than Ashtanga, which we did some Ashtanga too, with poses determined by instructors. So it's very instructor led. This is more for athletic dynamic feel to yoga. More, muscle building and light cardio, which also is another reason that yoga is so cool, because you can do the more relaxing version, or you can be building, lean muscles, or, you could do a little bit of cardio, or there's just so much that you can do. So we'll keep going here. How many more do we? All right, we're just about there. We've got Bikram. So these are some different poses and breathing techniques that are repeated in the same order. This is for those that don't mind heat, extreme extortion, and enjoy repetitive routine. So this one sounds like a bit more of an experienced kind of yoga type of yoga, whereas Kundalini is, let's see, also some repetitive movements, dynamic breathing, some mantras, chanting, and meditation. This again is more spiritual along with the physical. And I like this, rectifies channels and awakens the energy at the base of the spine, which I think is super cool. Love that. And then the last two here, we've got yin, which is a slow paced style in which poses are held for like 3 to 5 minutes. So this will be a bit more static. So again, you get into a pose and you generally will hold that. And what I like about, again, more just what I like about yoga, the cool thing is even while you're within a certain pose, so like let's say I'm sitting on the ground and my legs are V'd and I'm just going as far down to the ground as possible. As you're sitting in that pose, you're of course breathing the whole time. And a lot of times they'll encourage you, if you're able to, you don't want to push to the point of pain. But we like to have a good stretch. But every time you exhale, you can see if you can stretch just a little bit farther. And then while you're sitting there, again, you're gonna impress your own self, because I know I've been in instances where I thought I was as far as I could go, did a deep inhale, exhale, and I went just a little bit farther. And again, I just feel like yoga is really rewarding. So that's fun there. Again, this one's for those that want to slow down, are living with chronic pain, stress, and tight muscles. The benefits include release tension, restore a range of motion to muscles and connective tissue, regenerate and rejuvenate. This is a really, really great one, yin overall. And then we've got restorative, which is again one of my personal favorites. Benefits of this one is to calm the nervous system. So generally, this is more gentle. The poses again will be held for a longer time, and they may use some more props. So again, different things like blankets or bolsters or straps. Again, that just helps you get be more comfortable in kind of those more longer poses. And again, this one too is for those living with chronic pain or anyone who feels stressed. So anyone who feels stressed, which I think is a little bit of everyone, restorative yoga could be just for you. And I like this one too, because again, it's a very good introductory level one, because it is more gentle and just kind of a slower paced. But after going through all of those, Melissa, was there any that stood out to you? I'm curious, just as
Yeah,
you're getting into
for
it.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Like definitely the yin, the Vinny, and Kundalini, and then the one that you were talking about, the Hatha. And the restorative, they all do. I mean, the Bikram not so much. I don't like the heat, but like everything else, and I like the nervous system ones, because I've been learning a lot about nervous systems lately, and it's just really, that's what the mindful is about, like the more calm, and that it's just slowing down that I'm learning how to do. And it's like all that, is really good for that. I like the mindful piece, but I also like for the stretching and then the body, it's like I almost could see, as you read through those, which ones I would use in the morning and which ones I would use before bed, because I could see a fit for both of them, and a need for like, well, even if I just a little bit before, in the morning and then at night, and then it's tracking the progress. And you can totally do that, like you said, with the breathing and going down further. I'm sure each class you even got further, and so like stretching and so I like that document. I like all of that description, because it really, it's like, well, it'd be, and even like throughout the day, it'd be nice to just get down and do a little bit of stretching or something. And so that's really cool. I like that.
And again, both with yoga, there's just so much that you can do. And whether it is whether you're using it as a relaxation practice or as your exercise, which I mean, regardless, it still kind of fits into exercise, or if you're using it to, energize you. I remember after, Hatha yoga, again, it's a bit of a workout, although, it is kind of slower through movements. It's tough work. And it really can be energizing as well. And so again, there's just so much about yoga. And again, Dan's going to talk more tomorrow about the physical benefits and a bit more about how to get started as well. And just to briefly touch on that, I would say that that document is a great one to look at. And if you answer the question of the day, that document will be included in the guide that I sent out, or that I send out. But in terms of like looking for different yoga to participate in, I would, again, using that document just to figure out like what kind of yoga sounds comfortable, like where do you want to kind of take that first step. And YouTube is awesome. You can search beginner hatha yoga workout and look at it that way. Yoga with Adriene, is really popular. She's got a nice mix. Some of it is beginner, some of it's more advanced. So you can kind of check out hers for some ideas there. She's probably the most popular yoga person on YouTube at this point um, at this current day. But yeah, so she's awesome. The app Fit On is really great. They also have, you can like look into videos that have been posted, but they also have live classes through their app slash website, that you don't have to be like a premium member or anything, but you can sign up for classes and join those. Or again, they have just workout videos on their site as well that you can look into, and you can kind of filter your search there to see, like if I only want to spend 10 minutes on yoga, then you can kind of get specific in your search there. So those probably are like the first things that I would do. Again, figure out, what's the purpose of the yoga that you want to do. Again, do you want it to be mainly focused on gentle poses, focusing into breathing, or again, do you want it to be like strengthening or, more of like a cardio type workout? So yeah, figure out what you want, do some Googling. There's so much online. Yeah, otherwise, I know with COVID and everything, it makes things a little more difficult, but there are, yoga studios pretty much everywhere. Again, there may be less currently because of COVID and all that, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of different places, more in kind of the cities. So like I know Iowa City, Des Moines has a couple. So yeah, you can always look into classes that you have in your local area too. Yeah, some ideas. I know that was nice for me because I noticed with yoga, I had some my lower back is not my friend all the time. And so I liked having an actual instructor. So with certain poses, if I was like, this one's a little hard for my back, then she could help me adjust it. But again, there are other ways to kind of find those modifications as well. But just for myself personally, I liked to have someone there that could check me if she noticed I wasn't doing things correctly. Because that is one thing that I would say if you're new to yoga, yeah, just really listen to your body. If it gets to the point of pain, do not go into the point of pain. Again, we
No,
want it to be a comfortable. Yeah, go for it.
those are really great ideas. And as you were talking about your experience, I remember actually at the YMCA, I did do yoga class, like maybe one or two at two different Ys. So I think the YMCA, as long as that's still open, that's a cool spot too, because, the YMCA is in your neighborhood, and then if you go to that class, maybe you'll meet some people in your neighborhood too. So,
right. And I would say,
those are great ideas. I those are really good ideas. And I like how that makes more sense having it broken down and then pick. And also one thing I just have to say is give yourself grace, because that's I'm going to be leading with grace when I do this, because, sitting down with your own thoughts and really focusing on that when you always know the dishes need to be done, or somebody needs this, or, there's laundry everywhere around. But actually it's a really good practice to realize that, like, we can choose the present moment, and those things will still get done 10 minutes. If you just give yourself that 10 minutes, you'll probably be way more like inclined and like excited about life, or refreshed to go do those chores. And so, yeah, I just think give yourself grace. That's my plan.
And I can attest to that too. I definitely think, it wasn't like my first few classes, I probably wasn't completely fully present, but I kept practicing, and that's really, that's all that it really takes, is just, some additional effort. And kind of like I mentioned too, a big part of yoga and a big part of mindfulness meditation in general is paying attention or increasing awareness without judgment. So if you do notice pain, or if you do have thoughts that are coming in and you're getting frustrated, try your best to, again, give yourself some grace, because it's completely normal. And just try your best to return back to your breathing, or return to, whatever movement, consciously, intentionally going through that movement. And just know that it literally happens to everyone, and it takes practice to the more that you practice, the less your mind will be inclined to wander. And especially like during the practice. And again, something that was helpful that my yoga instructor would always say is let go of anything that's not serving you right now. Again, and I would set the intention with yourself too. Say, we've got 20 minutes, we've got 5 minutes, we've got 45 minutes, and I'm going to be fully present for this 40, or I'm going to try my best to be as present as possible. And if I do catch myself, then this is what I'm going to do to return back to myself. And just, yeah, there's definitely ways to kind of simplify that. So, don't be afraid to try some things out. And yeah, you can always post in here if you're curious or looking for some more resources. And like I said, I'll post the question of the day right after this, and all you have to do is answer that, and you'll get all of the links and guides and articles that I used in preparation for today too. So yes, ma'am. But with that, we're kind of coming to a close, and before I share the question and challenge of the day, I'm curious, Miss Melissa, if you've got some final thoughts for anyone that's watching out there.
Just maybe give it a go. I'm gonna do it. I mean, honestly, like, what are you waiting for? I suppose, really, because 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, like, that's what I'm learning about this whole healing journey and all this, self-love and all these self-care and stuff. It's just try a little, kind of like we talked about yesterday too, like just try a little bit of something and see if it works. Because what's 10 minutes today in your whole week? Like it's actually you moving, in any way, any path you go down in the healing and the health journey, as long as you're on that, you're good. You're basically just solidifying what is really for you, like what resonates with you. Yeah. Well, you don't know until you try it. It's just like, like, I don't even know what kind of candy. I know it's a bad example, but like candy you like, let's sample it all. This is like a candy store, but a healthy one. And I just think, that's where I'm taking from it.
Maybe like a fresh produce store.
Yeah.
But no, and yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's, again, one of the cool parts of yoga is there is a kind of yoga for literally everyone. Like I guarantee pretty much almost every single person could find a yoga that they enjoy. And, again, there's always modifications if you need it to be, easy on the back or easy on the knees or easy on the shoulders. I know there's a lot of, overhead kind of movements there. Yeah, just get as specific as you can in your search, because again, the internet is weird, but it's incredible in the fact that there are so many videos out there. So yeah, don't be afraid to do some, little Google searching, check out some YouTube channels, figure out, who you enjoy. I will also say, as you're getting into yoga, if you're not very familiar with, like, I don't know, sometimes they, like, the way that they talk can be a little like hippie like, which I enjoy, but I know some people like, I don't know, it just depends. So again, find someone that you enjoy listening to, and yeah, I would say just give it a go. And if it, if you don't like it, that's okay. You still tried it and you still learned something about yourself. So yeah, I would say with that, our question of the day is not as much with yoga, but again, mindfulness is a huge part of yoga. And again, just the connection between the physical body and the mental side of things as well. So the question of the day is, how has mindfulness helped you be more in tune with how your physical body feels? So again, kind of tapping into that mind-body connection. And then the challenge is to do kind of like a optional challenge. There's a couple options. So either pick a breathing technique and do it. I know we didn't dig too deep into some other breathing techniques, but yeah, even just taking, either take a minute to breathe intentionally, just be mindful in your breath. Actually, let me just change it. This challenge was confusing. I'm going to change it right this second. So the challenge is to take 1 minute, even just 1 minute. If you can do more, awesome, do more. But for 1 minute, just be mindful in yourself. Just take some deep breaths. Notice how your body's feeling. Feel your lungs expand and go down, and just notice how your body moves as you're breathing, and just see how it feels and let me know. That's all the challenge is just take a minute to be mindful with yourself in this present moment, in whatever present moment you decide to do that minute, and just be there with yourself. That's all that the challenge is today. So yeah, let us know how it goes. Again, I'll post that in just a few minutes here. And thank you again, Melissa. I always appreciate you joining me and
Thank
just
you.
adding to the conversation as always. So yeah, we will be, what even was that? We will be continuing yoga tomorrow. Dan is going to again talk about the physical benefits and more about how to get started, some different options there. We will continue the week on Thursday talking about sleep. And then on Friday, Mr. Dan will talk about some meal tips or tricks while traveling. So some different considerations or tips there. So hope you guys are having an awesome week so far. And yeah, we will see you guys soon. Okay.
Awesome. Bye, Natalie. Bye, guys.